What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and joining me here today to help talk about the Arkansas Razorbacks is, of course, Jay McLovin from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Jay, how you doing this afternoon, my friend? And you're going to be calling the Hogs. You're gonna be excited for Arkansas this year?
No, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'll tell you, the biggest storyline I expect to come out of Arkansas is whether Sam Pittman is going to keep his job at the end of the season. That's what I'm curious about. If this guy's on the hot seat, Logan, not only is he on the hot seat, but he knows he's on the hot seat. That's what I was talking about earlier when we were talking about what team was that? We were Mississippi State.
Mississippi State, yeah.
And I said, Jeff Lemmy, I said, if he's not careful, if he doesn't
you got to come out the gates hot.
He's going to be right there with Sam Pittman if he's not careful. Anyway, I regress. I expect this Arkansas Razorbacks team, to get about somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 7 wins. Maybe 8 if they're lucky. But I think 4 to 7, somewhere in that range, should be doable for this Arkansas team. They got, again, some of the biggest teams they got to play are A&M, Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss. Or no, excuse me, not Ole Miss. Yeah, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Texas. I mean, that's a lot, Logan. That's a lot to have on your plate when you're a struggling team. They are expected to finish 14th in the SEC. According to USA Today, they're expected to finish 14th. Now, I think it was South Carolina, I believe, that was expected to finish 13th, I think it was. It was either South Carolina or one of the other ones before that. That was it may have even been Auburn that was expected to finish 13th. But either way, these guys are going to be in the 14th. So it's almost like, as we're covering these teams, we're going in the progression of where they're going to finish in the SEC, almost like. But in any event, like I said, Coach Sam Pittman, he's got to be on the hot seat at this point. I think he knows it. Defensive end Landon Jackson knows he needs more consistency in 2024 if this defense is going to do anything. I think my question is will Patrick Kutas position switch ignite that offensive line? They've been having a lot of issues on the offensive line, and they moved them over into a new position, Kutas they did. And I'm curious to see if that's going to actually spark this offensive line and actually give the protection that they're going to need. Now, here's the thing, Logan. So Pittman brought in Bobby Petrino and made him the coordinator and said, hey, Bobby, go out and find your quarterback in the transfer portal. I don't care who you bring in. It's going to be your guy. Bring him in. So he goes out, he gets quarterback Taylon Green, and he thinks that that's going to be the perfect fit for them. There was a lack of cohesion last year, Logan, between offensive coordinator Dan Enos and quarterback KJ Jefferson, which is why he got rid of Dan Enos and went and got Bobby Petrino, which we all know Bobby Petrino can develop a quarterback. If you don't think so, go look at Lamar Jackson. You know what he can do with that. So I think that's going to be huge. It's probably one of the biggest things that Pittman could have done was brought in a guy like Bobby Petrino and then let him bring in a quarterback that he wants to develop. I think that's going to be huge for those guys, and I think it's going to pay dividends in the long run, and I think it's a smart play on Pittman. I think that's why he knew. He's like, I'm on the hot seat. I'm going to bring somebody in here that could not only develop a quarterback but find the right quarterback in the portal. So, again, that was a great decision on his part. I think the O-line needs to improve dramatically. They got to find a groove in some kind of way for them to be able to run the ball because, again, this is a new quarterback. It's a new situation. You know, they're going to have – it's going to take a lot. So they're going to have to rely heavily on that run game, which then is going to be relying heavily on the O-line. Oh, by the way, the offensive quarterback is going to have to rely heavily on the O-line. So you can see dramatically why I think they're going to be 4 to 7 wins if they're lucky because without a good O-line, there's nothing you can do. I mean, if you got a lot of new pieces out there, a lot of brand new pieces out there. I mean, there's a lot to work through, especially when you're on the hot seat, Logan.
Yeah.
They are hopefully they will get a full season with tight end Luke Hayes. He was having actually an All-American season last year, Logan. The guy had 16 catches for 253 yards and 3 touchdowns before he broke his collarbone in week 5.
Mm-hmm. He was looking good.
So that's a huge thing, right? That's a huge thing right there in of itself, you know. And then, you know, I should say he should be one of the focal points of the offense because he will actually give up absolute nightmare matchups to defenses, and that could be the saving grace for the passing game in this offense. To take some of the pressure off the defense would be that tight end and what he can do for them. So That's going to be a huge point to see how he does and how he overcomes that, and whether or not and how he's going to play in that season. The defense went heavy on the transfer portal, as you know, in hopes that it will provide an immediate impact. They went so heavy they added 22 players via the transfer portal.
Whew,
that's almost an entire. That's like half of your team right there just did the transfer portal. So that kind of gives you an idea of that. We all know with all the new faces, linebacker Xavier Sori Jr., defensive back Daneko Slaughter, defensive end Anton Junkosh. They need all three levels to sync up with the new people. So you got a linebacker, a defensive back, and a defensive end. They all brought in, and can they sync those guys in to this new defense? And that's going to be a huge pivotal thing, and that's going to be the second thing to look out for. Number one is how that O-line is going to perform. Number two, how the new faces on that defense at all three levels is going to perform and how well they're going to mesh. Arkansas went 0-5 at home versus Power 5 schools in 2023, Logan. So that narrow loss to BYU that they took really set the landslide for the last two games of the season in 23, which is against Auburn and Missouri, which they absolutely got obliterated by. So that really tells you a lot right there where they were last year. 2023, like I said, I see maybe 4 to 8 win total. I would think it's going to lean closer to the 4 side. I think they got a 1% chance to win the SEC. Their strength of schedule is at 31, so they got a pretty hard strength of schedule as well. And then again, the strength of this, I'm going to give you the strength and weakness, and I'll wrap it up. The strength of this team is going to be the run game, or defending the run game, I should say. Not the run game, but defending the run game. Arkansas's D-line consistently made plays in the backfield last season. They got either a tackle for losses they had 41 tackles for losses and or no gain. So they did a really good job of stopping the run last year, and that's going to be a pivotal thing for this team going in this year. Is how will that D-line, can that D-line repeat what it did last year? And as well as the new offense or the new additions to the secondary and linebacker crew. The weakness of this team is obviously their underwhelming passing game. And the reason why I say it is because they got a new quarterback in Boise State transfer, Taylor Green, who ranked 120th in the FBS in the passing game. So they got a lot of work to do on this guy. Petrino's going to have to work his magic to get this guy up to snuff. They got not one wide receiver recorded 400 yards last season, Logan. Wow. Nobody got over 400. Nobody. Their offense, they ranked 99th in pass blocking grade last year, Logan. So just let that think in for a minute. You got a new quarterback who doesn't rank well. Bobby Petrino is going to have to do a lot of work on this guy. And then on top of that, you got the 99th ranked, or last year you had the 99th ranked pass blocking, and you didn't have a receiver get over 400 yards. Just let that sink in. That just kind of tells you that, I'm telling you, that if Bobby Petrino escapes this season, gets a winning record, and keeps his job, Logan, I'm going to be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, got to get going here, Sam. Got to get home. Sam Pittman. Got to get going here, man. And my thing too, Jay, is you brought up some great points about how the offense had some rough moments. The defense, they had a couple of rough moments, we'll say. You got to get back to your rushing identity when I see this team. Jay, last year, they were a shell of what they were in 22. So in 2022, Jay, 3,100 yards, 27 touchdowns. That is A+. Love that. Over 5 yards to carry. And also they did that in 2021 as well. So both those years. But last year's game, Jay, on the ground, 3.5 yards per carry, only 9 scores. Granted, like you said, Raheem Sanders was hurt, only played a handful of games, and now he's gone. But they got to get something going with that rushing offense. You can't be a one-trick pony. You got to have adequate passing and rushing if you're a team like Arkansas who is trying to punch up, in a sense, of the big dogs of Georgia and Alabama and company, with everything getting tighter and just rough in the SEC with all the brand new additions.
Right.
Taylor Green Jr., interesting choice coming over, like you said, from Boise State. We'll see how Petrino can work his magic, as you said, and hopefully get something going. This team, like you said, finished second worst in the SEC in terms of yards per game last year. And I like the O-line, right? Well, you got like Joshua Braun. He's a good player overall. You're bringing in Fernando Carmona, Addison Nichols, as well as Keyshawn Blackstock from different programs out there. And you got guys like Jaquindon Jackson, who I think would look pretty solid. Coming over, like you said, 6'2", 235, average 5.5 yards a carry over there at Utah. So I think that is definitely going to help push this identity of this team to maybe a little bit more run heavy as opposed to the past couple of years. And when you look at this defense, I mean, like I said, last year they allowed 34 points or 6 times in the last 10 games. So not a really strong end to the season. I like Landon Jackson that you brought him up earlier in your monologue, and I think that kid is super talented. So I think he'll have a really good season once again. And we'll see, like you said, you're losing Chris Paul. He went to Ole Miss, and as well as Jaheim Thomas heading to Wisconsin. That's going to be tough. But you get guys like Xavier Sori over from UGA to help with Brad Spence as well. So I think the linebacking core might take a slight dip, but I think they'll still be up to par. And the defense got a lot of options to pick on your cornerbacks and whatnot to help out guys like Jaden Johnson and Jalen Braxton. But I know this is one team who is not glad that there's all these new additions to the SEC because I think it'll shed even more light on this program, on this division in the SEC, and who really is good and who really needs some work. And like you said, I think Arkansas is a team that added some decent pieces, but do I think they can compete with the Georgias and everyone in the world? I don't think they're there quite yet. Is Sam Hartman, is he going to be the right man to lead this program after this year? It remains to be seen, or Sam Pittman, rather. But I think, like you said, kind of middle of the road type of year with who all they've got on their schedule. They're not going to be awful. I don't think they're going to be a team to worry about come the beginning of next year with the College Football Playoff National Championship. I don't see that. So if you're a fan of Arkansas, if you went there like our guy Mr. Football Vincent Turner when he was calling the Hogs back when he went there, how will this team do? How will they do, man? Will they be like me and GA said, and they'll have some good moments, but they'll also have some ways they can improve? Or do you think they might shock the world and go on a crazy run to maybe the top 12? Who knows? All I know is one thing, though, Jay, and that's college football is right around the corner. It's going to be fun to watch, fun to see how these teams do. And, of course, we'll be covering all that live here on the channel each and every week. Jay, I appreciate you coming on the show. Jay McLovin, of course, from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers, guys. Enjoy your weekends, and we'll talk to you again on another